Hey, what's going on, guys? Hunter Otis here, and today I'm going to share with you exactly what I would do if I had to start over from scratch and learn how to quit porn all over again. I'm going to give you the step-by-step of exactly what I wish I had known at the time. Obviously, there's a lot more that I do now to help guys accelerate this process, but this will absolutely help you get started. So if this video is helpful for you, click subscribe. I'm going to be posting more videos to help you quit porn and create your ideal life. But the first thing that I would do is I would read this book. It's called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. This is by David R. Hawkins. And guys, the one thing you need to know right now is that quitting porn is not about more control. Control is often what keeps us in this vicious cycle, in this terrible loop. You need to learn how to let go and to surrender. Now, what the heck does that mean? What does that look like? Well, reading that book is going to really give you a huge leg up. But one of the number one things that I teach my guys to do is to learn how to surrender to their ideal self. So the next thing that I would do after reading this book is I would craft a new identity for myself. Now, I may not believe that that identity is true yet, but what I want to do is to literally craft out, map out exactly the man that I desire to become. How do I look? How do I speak? What do I believe about myself? How do I treat myself? What kind of a life do I live? What does my family look like? What do my relationships look like? Like, you name it, my health, wealth, everything. Like, craft out that ideal picture of yourself. And then what you're going to do is practice surrendering to that man. I literally ask myself, like, what would Hunter do? I know maybe that sounds blasphemous to some of you. Like, people say, what would Jesus do? But what would Hunter do? What would the future ideal version of me do in this situation? How would he behave? What would he believe? How would he speak? And I will strive to behave as such. And in doing so, I'm going to invite that man into my current reality. I'm going to be him right now. Okay. So there's so much power in that. So again, read this book, Letting Go, craft out a new identity, and you're going to start practicing surrendering to that ideal version of yourself. The next thing I would do, now this is what I would do, but I would remove all of the filters and blockers off of my devices. I know that sounds crazy, and some of you may freak out when you hear that, but you need to get the locus of control or your power center back within you instead of into something external. Okay. Again, this transformation is about becoming a new you, not trying to control the old one. So if you use blockers and filters to control your behaviors, you're not changing a bit. And if you were to remove those, I mean, you just go and view. And chances are you're finding ways around these things anyway. So maybe you're not viewing pornography as much, but you are still viewing it. And what happens is, as soon as you find a loophole, which becomes like addictive in and of itself, like just poking and prodding your phone for hours on end, trying to find a way through, as soon as you find that loophole, you believe you can't control yourself and that you need these external controls to manage your behaviors. So you find that loophole. And I mean, your beliefs are set up as such where you have to exploit that loophole. And you lose control and you just go off on like automatic pilot. And then you're just left with all the despair afterwards. So it's not working. Like, the number one thing I want to tell you right now is you're a grown adult. You can look at porn if you want to, and you have to remove this forbiddenness around it. You can look if you want. I understand that your spouse may be really upset, or it might, go against your moral beliefs or what have you, but the choice is yours. And we have to make it about choice again and reclaim that power. So I would remove the blockers. Now, I'm not telling you that you should absolutely do that right now. Okay. If you're terrified to do that, it's okay to get help so that you can go through that process successfully. Okay. Also, if you're in a relationship and it's like a deal breaker with your partner who maybe you've been dishonest to needs that in order to feel safe with you, okay, I don't recommend removing that right away. We got to take some proper steps. But again, this is what I would do, and this is what I did do to reclaim my power. Next, I would start processing urges. In fact, I would process 100 urges. And this will help you to start deconditioning your brain. Okay, you've heard the whole Pavlov's dogs story, but Pavlov, he's a scientist. He's an expert in classical conditioning. You can look it up. But Pavlov, he trained his dogs to salivate at the sound of the bell, right? He'd give the dog a treat, ring a bell, and then give the dog a treat. And he did this enough times where he'd ring that bell and the dogs would salivate without food even being in front of them. Well, our brains, we're not dogs, we're more complex than that, but our brains work very similarly. Our reward system is such that when we have a bell or a trigger and then give ourselves something, whether it be porn or food or what have you, in order to, like, say, deal with negative emotions. Okay, every time you feel anxiety, that's the bell. Now I need porn because I can't handle this on my own. Or now I need to go and give myself a treat through food, something unhealthy, etc. Okay, over time, those neural pathways in our brains just get really, really strong. So you've had a ton of practice viewing porn for anything and everything, okay, to cope with your reality, your emotional state, difficult situations in your life. And now it feels very automatic. So it feels like you're on automatic pilot. But this is just your brain. It's just been well trained. Your brain is designed to become efficient. There's nothing wrong with your brain. So I want you to keep that in mind. But in order to decondition that, in order to start to reverse that, we can't run from urges anymore. You can't control urges through filters and things like that. You have to face them. You have to face them. You cannot run. And so you need to start processing urges. And what will happen is, instead of resisting and fighting against the urges, or just obviously giving in and allowing yourself to just view porn, you're actually going to allow yourself to just experience the urge, to feel it, okay? To breathe through it, with the goal of not giving in. I know that's easier said than done. We're going to talk about what to do if you do give in just a second. But here's what I would do. I'm going to share my screen with you, a tool that I use and that I give my guys. It's a simple feelings wheel, okay? And what you do is, when you feel an urge come up, then you're going to drop down into your body and call out your emotions. First off, call out the fact that you're experiencing an urge. Okay, I'm experiencing an urge right now. What am I feeling emotionally? And start writing down the emotions. Okay, your awareness has just been completely obliterated, right? At the beginning of this, we have no idea what's going on with us in our internal world because we've just blanket numbed the whole dang thing, right? So you got to get acquainted again with what's going on here. This is a way that you can do that. So key in with your emotions, start to understand what it is that you're feeling, and then also your sensations. Check in with your body. What are you feeling? Do you feel a tension or a tightness in your chest? Do you feel thick in your throat? Are you trembling? Right? What is it that you're feeling? So that way your awareness is keying in when you're experiencing the urge. So now the next time you experience an urge, you're going to recognize it more fully, more easily, more quickly. And then what you do is, once you just simply state what's going on in your body and you're focused in on what you're feeling, then you breathe through that urge. It can be very helpful to tell yourself something positive while you're going through that, like, I can do this, I can handle this, etc. But you need to practice breathing through this urge, allowing yourself to feel it and not acting on it. Again, I know that's easier said than done. This is what I do a ton of work around with my guys, and helping them and supporting them to master this. But what you're going to do then is, you can either keep track of this on like a notebook or in a journal. So that's why I say, grab a feelings wheel, grab a sensations list, grab a journal, and you're going to start tallying out how many urges you've successfully processed, meaning you allowed yourself to feel it, you breathed through it, you identified what was going on with you, and you did not act out. Okay. Start tallying how many you successfully process. You can also get an app on your phone, a counter app, and start counting, tallying up all of those successful urges processed. And what's going to happen is what happened with Pavlov's dogs. Okay. The way that he reversed their conditioning is he rang the bell and stopped giving the dog the dang treat. Okay. Again, we're more complex than dogs, but you have to do the same thing, meaning the bell gets rung, you experience the urge, you don't give yourself a treat. Over time, your urges will become reduced to the point where they can go away completely. All right. Now, process 100 urges. I have never had a single guy get to 100 urges and not feel like a completely different person with so much more power and control in their life, like true control, right? And this is, again, why this book, Letting Go, is so important, because this is a process of surrender. Surrendering to allowing this urge and breathing through it when you want to just freak out and go and either control it or just go and give in. This is why surrender is so important. Okay, next, I would learn everything I can from my failures. So when you give in to temptation, when you give in to those urges, stop beating yourself up. Stop tearing yourself apart. There's just a lot to learn. Okay. You don't start over your urge processed counter back to 0 when you give in. Say you get to 10 urges processed successfully and you gave in on 11. Well, you just don't count 11. And then you focus on processing the next urge. And then you count to 11, 12, 13, and so on. This is a skill that takes practice, and you will get better over time. With that in mind, when you make a mistake, when you give in to the urge, ask yourself a bunch of questions. What happened? What was the circumstance? What emotions was I feeling? What were the triggers? What were the thoughts going through my head? What did I tell myself, right? That broke me down and started to unravel my will and caused me to throw in the towel or get a case of the F-its and say, whatever, I don't care. I just want the porn. What happened? Like, just get really curious, get ruthlessly curious, learn from every mistake, and then move on. Try again. You are not a complete, total, worthless sack of garbage if you end up viewing, okay? You were not taught the skills on how to do this. This doesn't happen overnight. And so now you just need to practice compassion, learn from your mistakes, get up, try again. Focus on processing 100 urges. Focus on that, not on how many mistakes you make along the way. Because by the time you get to 100, you're going to have some new neural pathways and a lot more strength to be able to allow those urges and not act out on them. Okay, then I would write down all the negative thoughts that I have about myself. So any negative thoughts that come up during the day around experiencing urges, I would write them down. I need to get explicitly clear on how I think, because what you think becomes what you believe about yourself. Your actions are always going to realign with your internal beliefs over time. So if you believe you're a worthless sack of garbage, guess what? You're going to behave like one eventually. It's just a matter of time. Again, which is why I started with crafting a new identity. We're holding that new us up as our guiding North Star. And we're always going back towards striving after being him now. And that's a skill, right? We're bringing him into the present moment by surrendering to how he would behave. Okay, so write down all the negative thoughts. And then I would write down on another column. So literally make a column of all the negative thoughts that go through your mind throughout the day, experiencing urges, when you have a fight with your partner or whatever. I don't care what it is, write down those negative thoughts. Those are going to start to uncover your negative core beliefs or negative cognitions about yourself. Then in the other column, I would directly counteract each one of those thoughts with a positive one. What do you want to believe about yourself instead? Or what thoughts could you try on instead of this, crappy one over here that's just producing terrible results for you in your life? Okay, once you have that list, then I would literally go through and recite that list to myself every day. I would read the negative thought. I would read the positive one. I'd use that feelings wheel and plug in a few positive emotions with the positive thought. What do I want to feel, or what can I feel? I would try to picture and feel those emotions, and then I would move on to the next one, and the next, and the next, and the next. And I would do that every day as long as it takes. Okay, just start counteracting, displacing those negative cognitions that you have about yourself. The better you feel, the better decisions you make. So trying on these new thoughts is going to be paramount for you. Okay, then next I would simply get help. Okay, if this overwhelms you, like me just going through these things with you, I would get help. If you can, surround yourself with other men that understand this stuff and can support you. Or obviously, you could join our community, the Porn Free Brotherhood, if you're not in there already, and you can get help. It's an incredible place to be able to be surrounded by other men that are working the same tools, the same strategy, that are crafting a new identity and claiming it finally in their lives, right? And stepping out of this behavior. So that's what I would suggest. In fact, let me share this with you as well. This is our paid community. I mean, I literally have a step-by-step 5-module program for you to complete that guides you through all of this. So there's no guesswork. But the Porn Free Brotherhood, this is our free community, and it's on School with a K, and we're close to 400 members. And you can just see all the posts from these guys in here. I mean, it's just incredible. Like seeing them get vulnerable, post, relapse bad, like this guy's struggling, and people commenting to give him support, celebrating success. We also have a 30-day challenge. You see all these people jumping in, day 28, day 3. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible to be surrounded by this type of positive energy. And it's not this failure narrative all the time. Like when guys make mistakes, we build them up and we help them get focused right back on learning and mastering the skills. Okay, you don't start over at 0. You do not lose progress. It's all a process of learning. You can't expect yourself to start a sport or a musical instrument and perfectly be able to play from day 1. It takes practice. It is a process. It's a journey. And it takes time. Surrounding yourself with guys that are going to help you start that new pattern of not shaming yourself and tearing yourself apart when you make mistakes, focusing in on what you can do, reclaiming your power, like it's just going to pay you back dividends. And then obviously, of course, this is all the stuff that I had to navigate through without any help and support. It wasn't very fun. It was really hard. I almost lost my marriage many, many, many times, countless times. And I mean, I was basically just completely ready to give up. I just thought I was going to suffer with this till the day I died. Well, it's not true, and it doesn't have to be true for you. And I mean, I thank God for his guidance in helping me to figure this out piece by piece. But you don't have to do that anymore because I've already done that. I've already gone through all that suffering. So you can take the learning and just apply the tools. Now, I hope that this video has been helpful. I'm just going to quick recap. Again, I would get this book, Letting Go, by David R. Hawkins, The Pathway to Surrender, because you need to start learning about the art of surrender. I would craft a new identity. I would get explicitly clear on the man that I want to become. And I would just picture him all the freaking time. And I would start surrendering to how he would behave. What would he choose? What would he believe to be true about himself? Start adopting all of that. I would remove all the filters and blockers off of my devices. And I would say, looking at porn is a choice. I have a choice. And if I want it, I can view it. But what do I actually want? Chances are you don't want it. Okay, well then, if you don't know how to not view it, well, that's where the next skills come in. Grab a feelings wheel, a sensation list, and a journal, and then start processing 100 urges. That's allowing yourself to fully feel them, observe everything that's going on with you, write it down, breathe through it, and let it go. Surrender it over. Don't force it away. Don't fight it off. Allow yourself to feel it, and that will decondition the responses in your brain, because when you stop giving yourself the reward, your brain will, over time, not immediately, but over time, will say, oh yeah, we don't get the reward with that urge anymore, so let's just stop trying. Let's let go of it. Okay, so I would do that. I would learn everything I could from every single mistake I make. If I give in and view pornography, or if I get really close, I'm going to ask myself, what happened? What was I feeling? What was I thinking? What was the situation in my life? Okay, that started pushing me over the edge. And I would just analyze everything I can, right? Just get ruthlessly curious and see what I can learn. And guys, my encouragement for you is to blame your conditioning, not your identity. Okay, your conditioning, not your identity. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with you as an individual person. You've just gotten a lot of practice in watching porn when anything uncomfortable comes up in your life, or even when you're celebrating something good, right? Blame your conditioning. Don't take it personal that you made a mistake. Just learn and move on. Then I would write down all the negative thoughts that come in my mind, all the things I tell myself to beat myself up. I would then replace them with the things I want to believe or think instead. I would write them down, literally column by column, a statement to counteract the negative one. Boom, 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 boom. And I would recite them to myself daily, allowing myself to feel positive, empowering emotions with the positive belief or thought instead of the negative one. And then lastly, I would get help. Get help. You do not need to do this alone. So we have the Porn Free Brotherhood. I also work with men hands-on. It's called Porn Free Ascension. That's our hands-on community to work with me directly. Even our free community has a lot of resources and a powerful community to be able to support you along the way. These are my best suggestions right now, just to help you get started. Again, if I had to start over from 0, this would really get you going in a great way. That's it for today. I hope this has been helpful. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, click subscribe for more content like this.